So I'm Connie. You've been following my blog for like a little bit. New to this still, but here we are with my trainer, Madison DeCook.
Hi.
And I wanted to ask her a few questions today, kind of get behind the scenes of what goes on with her training philosophy and why she came into training in the first place. And this is her horse, Marley. He is also featured in today's interview.
Say hi, Marley.
So, Maddie, what drew you first to horses and specifically wanting to rehab or retrain horses that have been through a lot?
So, I think the thing that drew me to horses first was I just wanted to ride. Like, I saw them growing up and I just wanted to ride horses, and I didn't care how. So I started out riding Western.
Okay.
And then I got into English, which led me to jumping. And then I started to ride thoroughbreds with a trainer that I grew up with, and I just fell in love with them. And as we know, a lot of thoroughbreds come with a lot of baggage. So my first thoroughbred really led me into the world of rehabbing horses, getting them back on their feet after whatever life they lived before they came to me. And so my passion really grew from that. And from Marley, he was my second horse, and he had a lot of baggage, and I just really found my calling in just helping him find his life.
Today we were here for the Sensibilities Clinic too, a little bit. Tell me more about your training philosophy when it comes to your approach to horses and how you want to positively impact their thinking.
So I like to start all of my horses out with just time to relax and be horses again. Especially in the rehab program, they really need that time to just let go of all of the stuff that they've been carrying around because of humans or because of illness or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so there's all this, I get time off and then I get the crazies. So that's a part of my program too, is letting a horse learn to express themselves and finding the best way for them to express themselves in a safe manner. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is bringing them down, toning them down a little bit in a way that's not aggressive. So we don't reach a point where we're fighting all the time, where it's you have an expression that you need to release, and I'm giving you the tools to do that in a safe way. Mm-hmm. So that you're not harming anyone around you, you're not harming yourself, but you're able to still have a voice. And that's what a lot of these thoroughbreds need, is they have all this energy, all this opinion that they don't know what to do with. They're never taught what to do with, and so they get in trouble with people. And so my job is to help them understand their emotions, how to release them in healthy manners, so that they can do their job and reveal their talents.
Yeah, so, I mean, you mentioned Marley here. He was your second thoroughbred that you rescued, basically. Tell me a little bit about your journey with him in that aspect.
So when I first got him, he was in really bad shape. He had been off the track for maybe a year, and in a program that was just really hard on him. And it's hard to say what happened, but when I found him, he was a couple 100 pounds underweight and just messed up. Like everything was wrong with him. His feet were bad, his skin was bad, his guts were bad, just his brain was bad. And so I just let him find his way, and he was my trial and error horse. So I did what I was told to by trainers from a traditional background, and it didn't work. And I needed to find a way that worked for him in order to save his life.
Yeah.
And that's just what my whole philosophy has been based upon, is this guy's journey, and bringing him from a place where he just couldn't process information, and it became anger and resentment. He didn't want to be around people at all. Like, he absolutely hated interaction with people and other horses, so he was a loner. And that's very uncommon for horses. Like, you just don't see it. He absolutely hated the idea of being around another horse. And so the whole process with him was just getting him comfortable with the idea that other creatures existed and could exist in the same plane as him, and he could be comfortable with them. So that eventually he started to seek that out, out companionship. And for him, positive reinforcement was a game changer. And like, I knew nothing about it because I'd been trained only off negative reinforcement. So pressure until they release. So push until they walk away.
That was what you previously trained with?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with him, I was starting to learn that if you pushed him away, he'd go away and he wouldn't come back.
Yes, thank you.
So all the pressure release stuff just didn't function in his brain. He just didn't connect it to, I'm learning a thing. by releasing the pressure, it became this is an adverse experience and I don't like it.
Okay.
And so for him, switching over to positive reinforcement gave me the chance to learn that there's other ways.
And when you say positive enforcement, like for him specifically, what does that mean?
So for him, it's food.
Okay.
Because that's literally the only thing that motivates him is food. And so teaching him to give a response to get food without taking it from me was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Because he thought for the longest time, like his whole life, that in order to like people, he had to understand that they brought him food. And so using that to our benefit, saying the thing you seek out most of all is food, therefore I'm going to start to teach you to respond to things in order to receive what you want.
Yeah.
And it's a very fine line. Like it's really super easy to go too far with positive reinforcement so that the horse thinks they're taking things from you.
Yeah, because I've heard of scenarios where horses just demand treats all the time.
And they're all over
do.
you all the time
Yeah,
and just like seeking.
But that's not him, right?
Yeah. And so horses like him just really benefit from having that experience where they do something on their own accord and receive a reward. So if he needs to inspect it, if he needs to look at it, let him. Okay. But keep encouraging him to move forward. I think, moral of the story, the main point of my method is to not have a method.
Okay.
Is to adjust everything according to the horse, according to the rider. Whatever they need to learn is what they get from me. That's okay. He has to scare himself a little bit to learn first.
I like that approach of flexibility because, every human learns differently too, so why should
Yeah.
we expect horses to be the same way?
You can't. But what? So if that blew his mind, he was like, whoa.
The first clinic that you did, it was all groundwork, and something that I thought was fascinating was having a horse chase an object that scared them. Instead of it chasing them or like making the horse stand there and take it, you're like, okay, well, let's just expand upon this curiosity, and I'm going to be a positive enforcer of this curiosity.
Yes.
So talk to me a little more about that.
So the idea of teaching a horse to use its curiosity to its benefit isn't new. Like
Yeah.
it's been around, but it's another fine line type method. So you can teach a horse to seek out the thing that is frightening, but then the next step is for them to be aggressive. So you have to let them explore without making them feel pressured that they
Okay.
have to go further.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you push them, as soon as you make it so that I have to attack this thing in order to experience it, that's the fine line that you're crossing.
Yeah.
So my idea is to always let horses explore and then let them back off.
Nice.
So seek out the thing, become comfortable, and then back them off
Nice.
so that they don't become aggressive towards it.
So why do you call it sensibilities instead of desensitizing?
So the idea behind desensitizing, based off its name,
Right.
is to eliminate sensitivity. So when you desensitize a horse, you condition them to not respond. And for sport horses, and especially cross-country horses, that is not ideal. You want them to be free-thinking, you want them to be looking around, aware of their environment, making adjustments, making decisions. Still don't want to make it a fight, but just a little bit of, no, you can't go back.
Then do. Okay. Get your butt on. There you go.
Getting him out of his comfort zone.
Oh.
Good boy.
Hi. This is
Good boy. There we go.
Look,
The
you
idea
didn't drown.
behind sensibilities is you're giving them the tools to have better responses to adverse stimuli. So instead of telling them they can't spook at an object, sensibilities is teaching them how to react to a scary object.
Yeah.
Instead of freaking out, give them the chance to approach it in a curious manner, explore what it is they're looking at, and then decide if it's something that's worth being afraid of or not. And that'll be a test. Good.
There you go. There you
Make
go.
a big deal out of it. More often than not, if they're taught how to approach an object that's frightening, they're not going to be afraid of it. Especially if their handler, the person around them, has the demeanor that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is that the handler has to be the one who decides it's not scary. So
Okay.
that the horse can just follow their lead and trust their rider's instincts.
If there was one thing that you wish you could impart on people that are coming to your clinics or listening to your training methods, what would the one takeaway be?
I
know
think
it's a
it
big
would be to learn, it's a little bit of a weighted question, but ultimately it's to be aware. If our people are spooky, you're going to create a spooky horse.
Right.
So ultimately, these training methods have to come from the person first in order to put it upon the horse that they're dealing with.
Yeah. So if I'm like riding on the trail and I see something that, a big fluorescent flapping thing, and I think, oh, he's gonna spook at that.
The horse is probably immediately going to be like,
I should spook at that.
Exactly.
So I have to take, and everyone else should take their philosophy into, okay, that could be something scary. Let's look at
Yeah.
it for a second. Instead of they're going to spook,
Yeah.
and then mentally prepare for it instead of denying it could happen or saying it will happen.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, that could be scary. Let's think about it.
A lot of the times with horses, if you're aware of your surroundings, if you're acknowledging things that are scary in a way that's not frightening yourself, so if you see a scary object, you're like, oh, that might be scary to my horse too. Then your horse is going to be in a state of mind based off your own status that, oh, there's something that might be frightening, I should take a moment,
Okay.
rather than all of a sudden, surprise, it's there. Of course
Yeah.
I'm going to get scared and run away.
So besides Marley here, tell me more about the horses that are currently in your care.
So a lot of them have had similar issues to Marley, where they
Yeah.
just weren't capable of expressing themselves. They were taught not to express themselves. And
Well, he's very expressive.
He's learning to be a little bit
Sorry,
less
dude.
expressive. So, Marley, can you function? Okay.
I'm gonna grab her.
So a lot of them came from situations or just are naturally inclined to be high anxiety horses. And so it's teaching them that their anxiety isn't a bad thing, that they can be relaxed and still be aware of what's happening around them. It's turning hypervigilance into just simple awareness. And so a lot of them are either from places that took very good care of them, but just didn't get quite what they needed to be
Right.
happy, or just the understanding. Because a lot of these thoroughbreds just need understanding more than anything. And if they stand here like this calmly for a while, just stand with them and just let them enjoy it. Okay. When he starts to get fidgety, that's when it's your cue to start again.
So I put up some one of those Ask the Trainer things on my Instagram account, and we got some questions that came in for you. So for the sake of time, we're going to pick 3, and then we'll answer the rest on the blog.
Okay. What's your process for evaluating if a horse-rider combo are a good match? Well, usually the horse tells all. Well, it goes more into like rider frustration and horse frustration, or compatibility. So if a rider or horse become frustrated during the ride, I usually decide that that's not a good match.
Yeah.
Depending on the severity. Sometimes a horse or a rider needs to come out of their comfort zone and learn from the situation. So I'll keep them going for a little while to see if there's an improvement. If it's straight up horse kicking out, bucking, rider crying, done.
Yeah.
Not working. But if you sit on a horse and you're immediately just at ease, or your position becomes better, or you just become more relaxed, that's the key.
Nice.
So being able to be relaxed, number 1, is the key for good combos, because that's the best learning environment.
Next one.
Oh, what's your biggest student pet peeve?
That's a big one.
That's a big one. But It's hard to say because there's a lot of pet peeves. Every person has a little peeve of mine. But ultimately, it's the people that don't take care of their horse. Like
Yeah.
students that are there simply to ride and not have horsemanship skills. That is a big peeve of mine because horsemanship is utmost to me. Like
Yeah.
you learn more from the horse on the ground around them than you learn just riding.
Yeah.
You have to groom them, you have to feel their legs, you have to adjust saddles, everything. So when a rider doesn't care about horsemanship, that irritates me a lot.
Okay, and last question. If you can get it.
I got it.
Okay.
Gloves, man. Outside of the vat and farrier, what is the number one way to maintain soundness? Biomechanics. So, every horse is built differently. Every horse has to be carried differently according to how they're built. So if we expect a horse that's downhill to be a dressage horse, they're gonna go lame. If we expect an uphill horse to be a Western pleasure horse, they're gonna go lame. So soundness is being able to ride a horse according to how each individual horse is built.
Okay.
And that will help maintain overall mental and physical soundness above all else. Like the vet and farrier, they're not interacting with a horse every day. You are as a rider or the trainer or, just a hobbyist. So it's your responsibility to educate yourself about how your horse has to move. Either seek help from another trainer or read or research. Just figure out how your horse is built and how you need to ride them according to how they're built. And that will increase the longevity of that horse, increase the muscular soundness, and you'll be happy. Your horse will be happy.
Yeah.
And you'll have better rides.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you learned a little bit. And follow Madison DeCook, which is under the handle, I can't pronounce it, you're going to have to say it for me.
Galbraith Equestrian.
Galbraith.eq on Instagram for more training tips and just follow a little bit more for life. Thanks.
Connie, you're not helping. All right, thank you. I'll figure it out.
It'll work.
Oh, that's great.
I was rolling, made a mistake.
Oh shit.
Clap it.
That's good enough. That's all I got to clap.
Cool. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Pushing me out of the frame, dude.
Yeah, rude.